All right, you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. Welcome to Spartalknewztalk, your plucky working class source for the news you need and the takes you trust, because it's just us doing everything once a week. Except I'm hot off my second vaccine shot, and Haakim, I just love America so damn much. And I don't get it. I've never felt this way before.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but, you know, like, I'm usually pretty anti-government establishment sort of guy, but now it's just like, you know, Joe Biden is, you know, just our politics daddy, and I think he's just great. Just trust him.
Is that it?
No, I'm actually feeling.
This is like true patriotism, or you?
No. Actually,
last week you gave him a C- or C+.
Yeah, no, I did, but I'm saying I got the second vaccine yesterday.
Oh,
and
is that what was in the shot? Was a better grade average?
It popped him up. That's all I'm saying. I don't know why. I just sat on it, and you know, he's a great guy. Dr. Fauci's a great guy. You know, they're handsome.
Dr. Fauci is
No, Joe Biden is one of the more handsome men, I think. You know, but no. Actually, I have no side effects in general. So the second shot's supposed to be the one that puts you out a little bit. But today, generally, I'm just a little bit tired. And my arm still hurts from the shot.
Yeah.
But I had friends of mine, you know, posting that they were vomiting all night from the.
Yeah, I've heard stories. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's bad, and but I guess I'm lucky for not, you know, having to go through that at least.
Yeah, it could be worse.
Yes,
it's definitely, and not getting it is worse than getting it. So, you know.
Well, yeah, and people
are flying to Florida and Canada to get it. And
that's what I want is to be able to fly to. Well, actually, I've got a friend visiting from Florida soon, and he's going to test beforehand. But he's telling me it's a complete shit show.
I believe him.
It's a complete shit show, and it's like it's impossible. Like, it's not organized at all there. And I'll maybe we'll have him on. We can actually hear horror stories about how, because he works for Disney too.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is, so I've been telling you, I've been doing these subreddit things on YouTube, and like some of the craziest stories are from Disney, Disneyland. I'm assuming he works, and yeah, I can imagine how
it's. So you'd have I think a very unique perspective on that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that, man.
What is the date? March 10th, 2021, and today in the news, Meghan Markle sat down with Oprah this week, revealing suicidal thoughts and selective treatment from the managers of the royal family and the family itself. Including asking how dark she thought her baby's skin was going to be. The trial of Derek Chauvin, who is accused of second-degree manslaughter and unintentional murder of 46-year-old black man George Floyd, is underway with jury selection. Opening statements are expected no earlier than March 29th. And I feel like this is already getting a little bit buried. You know, like people are falling asleep on it. Arkansas has banned most abortions in what most are interpreting as a direct challenge to the conservative majority U.S. Supreme Court to strike down Roe v. Wade. Milo Yiannopoulos is now describing himself as ex-gay and says he wants to rehabilitate conversion therapy. New sexual harassment allegations from aides against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo brings the count up to something like 7 women now. And Attorney General of New York, Letitia James' office has an investigation underway. I think she just announced who is leading it, but we'll have that next week. The $1.9 trillion COVID release package with $1,400 direct payments and a myriad of more aid direct to people, less to the corporations than formerly, passes both chambers of Congress and is heading to Biden's desk. Then there's the PRO Act, delivering sweeping nationwide pro-union reforms, passed the House and is heading to the Senate. The Senate approved Merrick Garland as Attorney General. And the Whole Foods in Midtown Detroit had a COVID outbreak with at least 23 employees testing positive, and the store has since reopened.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I actually found that out because I was picking up some print stuff from the FedEx across the street, and then I just had needed a couple groceries, like bagged salads I can get there, and I can't get many other places. But it was like, I feel like it's always shitty where you can never find somebody to help you with anything, and like they don't have certain things. And it just prompted me to tweet every time I'm in Whole Foods. I have the overwhelming urge to text somebody about how much I hate Whole Foods. So somebody saw that and posted there was an outbreak at Whole Foods. This was when it actually happened was late February, but. It's pretty quick to reopen. And it's like, we know 23 cases and only 23 cases. I would think that they could shut down for a little longer.
We consider all the outbreaks inside of Amazon facilities. Yeah. I mean, kind of par for the course, really.
Par for the course for them, yeah. So we're going to watch some clips too. First one's going to be basically catching us up on the Equality Act, because that's the next debate that's going to be big. And this one is very relevant to this show because it's sex, politics, and religion right in line. And there are a lot of LGBT people that are complaining that that are saying that it's long overdue. It's like a civil rights act for them. And there are religious people that say this will make it impossible for us to exercise our religion. So I'm interested in both sides, at least hearing both sides. So we pulled up just one thing to just get us all up on it, before we start inviting people on about it.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah.
The Senate will soon begin debate on a measure to ban discrimination against LGBTQ people. The U.S. House already passed the Equality Act with 3 Republicans crossing party lines to support it. 9 on your side's Ariana Kraft joins us now. Ariana, what's in this bill?
Ken, the measure would ban discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. But one of the debates over the Equality Act focuses on protecting people's religious beliefs.
The LGBTQ community just wants to be treated fairly.
But there's still a debate on how to protect the LGBTQ community and whether it should be done through federal law.
This version of the Equality Act basically supersedes some existing religious protection legislation so that people would not be as free to use their faith or their religion to discriminate based on sexual orientation or gender identity.
That's why many Republicans oppose the Equality Act.
Religious beliefs and faith no longer matter in the Democrats' New World Order.
People in the LGBTQ community say the U.S. government was founded on the separation between church and state.
I also don't believe the federal government should allow exemptions that basically allow discrimination.
This legislation would offer protections to LGBTQ people in elements of everyday life.
In employment, in housing, in education, in public accommodation, so meaning like as a customer. It basically would add gender identity and sexual orientation to the existing civil rights.
So the thing that this reminds me of is first when I was seeing online a lot of the outrage around Salvation Army, for instance, and everybody talking about how it's ridiculous that they're able to discriminate against gay people who don't extend healthcare to the partners, same-sex partners and stuff. But at the time, my nuanced take of it was, you didn't know it was a church. It's a church. It's like this is why it's hard to take a scalpel to this and like put it in between, because this is an ancient tradition with some fucked up and old beliefs, and as long as we I don't know. I don't think I agree with that. They should nobody should be fired for being gay or anything like that. But I can see the point of view that you know, like as soon as they open this up to where you know, nobody can, you know, like a gay person can join any religious organization they want, even if they're against the thing. I feel like there are going to be lawsuits through the wazoo, and
It's true. But at some point, you have to say, well, you become a large enough organization. Salvation Army is a massive organization, even though they're Christian based.
yeah.
Like, at what point do you draw the line between being a large national organization and your investment in a in a national community? It overlaps. I mean, if
Sure.
you're a church that doesn't want to have a gay wedding,
And
versus
yes, well, this is the thing.
Or national,
and that's what I'd be interested in seeing whether, you know, I don't imagine it's going to do that where it's forcing churches to do gay weddings or.
But I think that's an individual thing where, like, you go from a macro, you go from a micro to a macro scale. The macro scale is where we have to have a larger conversation. Up until 1978, the Mormon Church didn't recognize Black people as even people, and they had to change to keep their national status. National status originally was being threatened. It was more of a financial reasoning, in my opinion, than they did even for a moral standpoint. Other than that, they wouldn't have done that.
Sons of Ham, is it? Yeah.
The details, you know, we can go into later, but, you know, anyone knows this history of that, it's there. And I believe, particularly when it comes to civil rights issues, people, you know, one of the debates is always going to be under or overstepping of federal government in situations like this.
And particularly because the separation of church and state is in the first. The First Amendment, you know, it is a federal responsibility to create that, whatever that wall is. But a lot of people disagree on where that wall is. So this was something that we definitely should have somebody on about.
Right.
Because we've got dogs in the fight, but not like, you know, not skin in the game, you know.
Good debate, though. I like it.
Yeah. But I will agree with conservatives about one cancel culture thing. I know that there was Potato Gate, and there was what was the other one? Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss, yeah, that was apparently a big one. I missed it.
And I just think these things are silly. They don't have anything else to talk about. They're like, you know.
Since Trump is out, I mean, that's a big void to fill.
Yeah, no, and they have nothing. They have nothing to offer on healthcare. Yeah. They have nothing to offer on.
Everyone's just waiting to get news.
They're just
creating.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, well, you know, this horrible base that gets like, you know, crazy about cultural issues is there.
Right.
And they're the ones that they're the room that we're playing to, so might as well. But I will say that once you fuck with Lola Bunny, you do go too far. Because in the new Space Jam, there's talk that, like, basically Lola Bunny's going to be desexualized or whatever, and like made less sexy. Originally the character was kind of a tomboy,
right,
but was sexy, and like and just, you know, like didn't hide it, and didn't, you know. In the new one, it's a shame. She's like, you know, they took away a little bit here, and, you know, right. It's just kind of and I'm sorry, it's just like my problem.
Your inner nerd is coming out.
My problem with it is that the old Looney Tunes, you know, Bugs Bunny was sexy half the time, you know, like as he was transvestite.
He was the original.
Yeah, man. I mean, like,
cross-dressing.
Yeah, and it was always taking it there. It was always like there was always a sexual component to, you know, like, and we should talk about Pepe Le Pew, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you know, and maybe people don't like that idea or whatever. Maybe there should be what is it? A warning at the beginning of Looney Tunes now that they've released it again. But
yeah, I mean, you know,
I'm sorry. You can't they basically what they're saying is it's a show for kids. Yeah, well, you know, shows for kids can be a little racy sometimes. There's insane violence in Looney Tunes, and there's a lot of sexy shit.
Well, yeah, the idea that, like, it's generationally based a cartoon is seeped in adolescence, but it's not just for kids. I think it's always been those things where I think cartoons always put hidden jokes in kids' films, and kids' TV shows.
And it's not that I'm a furry. I'm not admitting that on air right now. But I'm.
That's not what he said off camera.
But we have a lot of access to one another's computers with doing this thing. So you keep your mouth shut, man. But I'm just saying, when Space Jam came out.
It's a classic, by the way.
It's fucking great, and I'm just saying we're seeing. This is another thing we should talk about is the new Coming to America.
Yeah, which as much as I love the original, I haven't watched yet because I'm scared for it to be bad. Yeah, and
I did see it, and I thought it generally was bad. It started off.
Maybe not one.
I'm sorry. This is my opinion. It ended actually kind of with a good taste in your mouth, kind of good art direction and some things full circle and everything. But it began so tacky, so many really bad jokes.
I think in its defense, and you take a deep breath and you try to say. I don't want to say this was a cash grab, but I want to say that they saw the climate, the void that was left, and they said, let's make something like this. And you say, this is something that could have easily been made 30 years ago, and it would have made a ton of money, and it probably would have been better, possibly. But this is an era where people need something like this or want something like this because, everything gets remade, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a respectful way to, the thing about the original Coming to America, it was a bookend storyline.
Yeah.
So you have to make up a reason to bring these.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
there's a beginning and end.
And Eddie Murphy is, he and Arsenio Hall are great in it. All the character work is great. Yeah. All the art direction is good, but it's not as good as the original. Yeah. And the writing is just corny, man. It's
the corny factor is what I was.
It's Eddie Murphy doing. Somebody told me recently that he was trying to during his worst phase, Norbit and all that shit. He was basically trying not to put swears in his movies, I guess, because he had kids or whatever.
That's where all and
he just became a children's performer.
A lot of great people, comedians and whoever like Eddie Murphy. What they normally do is they do a bad impression of themselves.
Yeah,
and that's what if I had to guess, probably what's happening. He had this. First of all, Coming to America,
and that's what scares me about Lola Bunny because they can't fuck up Space Jam for me. And there's an epidemic. There's an epidemic of them fucking up classic movies.
Right, but with this one, the problem is Coming to America was lightning in the bottle that you probably can't create. It's you don't get to make something like that because it's they probably couldn't.
Even so, if they had pulled their punches on this a little bit, if they hadn't done, it was just all of the stuff that they were putting in for the spoiler alert, the King of Zamunda has a funeral in it. James James Earl Jones. And it's a very similar name. Yeah. Just basically we'll take a look at that scene and the performers for that scene, and it kind of sums up where it's tone it down, you don't need, either make this a musical or make it not. It's not, the original was actually by John Landis who did Blues Brothers, but it didn't have half of none of the music in it seemed very inappropriate besides with the really good jokes and stuff, and there was too much of that in this.
Yeah, I've heard many different treatments. Apparently, they wanted to have Michael B. Jordan in a version of it that Eddie Murphy turned down. He was supposed to be the main character in it and be the son.
Right. Michael B. Jordan would be.
Ryan Coogler was going to. They pitched this idea. Eddie Murphy didn't want to be the supporting cast in his own film, which I kind of get.
I get it. And Michael B. Jordan
it sounded like it might have been
he's also not that funny, you know, like.
Well, he's not.
The son character should have been Hannibal Buress. That's who it should have been.
Possibly.
Or Eric Andre. Like, it should have been
interesting.
another good
But here's the
comedian.
thing: we've never seen Michael Jordan try to be funny, so we don't know how funny he is. Maybe it would have been
Michael B. Jordan, right. But I'm just saying, I can't imagine a dramatic actor like that taking to it so. It worked for Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think, there's not too many seamless, action to comedy transitions in the world.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of dramatic roles. He has a lot of action roles, but I'm not going to say that he can't do comedy. But that being said,
the fact that he hasn't gravitated to it yet,
the concept though sounded like it might have had some more weight to it, as far as like other than the continuousness of what was going on with the storyline. That seemed like a stretch. But as far as the Space Jam Lola Bunny thing, I think we talked about this before.
Right. So they took out a scene with Pepe Le Pew,
right,
where Pepe Le Pew apparently who's the basketball player in the?
Michael Jordan.
It's not Michael Jordan.
With the scene?
It's some new basketball player in it.
LeBron James.
LeBron James is in there.
The old one.
Yeah, no. So there is a scene, I think, where LeBron James or something either explains consent to Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, there's even a debate about I forget the name of the actress that's in the scene. But we also talked about, and this is becoming.
But it was cut out.
Yeah, it was
cut out. So it's which I don't know why they would cut that out.
It doesn't make sense, but I remember
there's a lot of
about
Chappelle
making the comparison, which is at this point a 20-year-old joke comparison. Like a lot of stuff, and I'm a huge Chappelle fan. I would always have been, but like this was a point thing. And we do have a clip of it.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah, let's see.
You ever watch like a cartoon that you used to watch when you were little as an adult? That shit is wild shit. Some wild shit. I mean, like I was with my nephew. We sitting there, we watching Pepe Le Pew, and I say to my nephew, I said, now pay attention to this guy because he's funny. I used to watch him when I was little. And then we watched Pepe Le Pew, but I'm old now. I'm looking like, good God, what kind of fucking rapist is this guy? Like, take it easy, Pepe. My nephew was sitting there cracking up. See, sometimes you gotta take the pussy like Pepe. Like, no.
That's very true. It's a very rapey character, and we've talked about how like over time, people just didn't consider rape how they do today back then. And I mean, like in general, I would say, like especially statutory rape, which is another thing we'll talk about soon. I'm gonna say the R word, so I don't want to get dinged by YouTube. But no, this is that's a good point.
But yeah, as far as
last time we said that we were not going to be calling this segment Rape Watch because it looks like we're watching a rape, so we're not,
But like,
not
as far
calling
as
that segment
that whole the very interesting kind of like generational expansion of like what's acceptable, not acceptable. This is an interesting take on it. And the fact that this is, I think this video is 20 years old at this point, which is crazy to think about. But and he's making these observations, but that's just how this works with this artist. It's interesting though, and to see.
But this is what I'm saying. Lola Bunny was almost the reverse Pepe Le Pew. She everybody was slobbering over her, and she stood up for herself, and it actually showed women to don't ever call me doll. I remember her line. She did end up with bugs because they're both rabbits and they're horny. But I'm just saying, I think it's not, you can't just take the sex out of every dynamic because it is there, and kids need to learn that, how to deal with these situations. So
I mean, but they also they removed they dressed down Lola Bunny, and they also removed the Pepe Le Pew. And I forget the name of the actress that's in that scene with Pepe Le Pew. She has a very empowering scene. She complained about them removing it because she had a very empowering scene against Pepe.
LeBron should explain consent to Pepe Le Pew.
Well, a lot of people are saying it's more about her based on what she says or about her, and LeBron supporting her in the scene. But they decided to play it safe and just remove the whole scene.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of a cop out, if you think about it, because it's like, you know, you don't want to, as a corporation, you're like, we just don't want to take a stance. We don't want to, you know, who are we talking about here?
Yeah, and all these other companies, they're selling products, so I get that they want to like go into new markets and stuff. But like what they're doing, I will say that like if you're going to talk about cancel culture, and again, I don't think it exists in the sense that like one person railing against it always has four people, one person railing for it or like saying that somebody should get canceled. There's always like, you know, four takes that like are saying like, oh, well, cancel culture, and that's not, and also people, you know, for years people got canceled or you know, freaking assassinated because they were black, because they were gay, or because they were whatever. And so it's like bringing things into the real world and creating a balance. And like, you know, like trans people have some of the highest murder rates ever, so normalizing that a little bit, you know, trans thing, not murdering trans people, but you know, that trans people exist. You know, that I think that movies should be shying away from this, and it's part of the degradation of the movies to some extent, for sure, is that they should be, you know, they should be reckless, like Dave Chappelle. Like he had a tribe about or diatribe about that at one point, right? So we got to talk about Meghan Markle. As much as I hate it, because usually I do not like to pay attention to the royals at all.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll start by saying like, yeah, this is not surprising at this point, but yeah.
No, and that's the thing. It's like everybody's, you know, finding like everybody's like, you know what? There's someone.
The royals are racist.
The royals are racist.
Get the hell.
And it's like, oh, you mean that like ancient Germanic family that owns England and like colonized one country per, you know, usually black countries per continent,
darker than them.
Countries, and like put them in camps and like and all based on the strength of you know, their pure Aryan bloodline. Those people are racist, I think, and if we're looking at the interview, I will say that I'm not surprised by anything that Meghan Markle said, but I do think that, you know, she's talking about how she did no research before she got into the marriage. She did no. You know, she was completely blindsided by all of these traditions and stuff. But she should have done. She should have known that,
but
it's not.
Let's be honest. Was she going to not be a princess?
Dude, I think it's a really corrupt, like horrible system that it even exists. So, and especially against black people, the history of that. It should, like, if you're not a small R, like she went into it as an American who was always taken for granted that she had a constitution and certain rights and like elected her leaders and everything, and entered into a system where, you know, they have no constitution there. Their constitution is, you know, stuff that is appropriate for the queen to interfere with in public life and stuff. You know, it's like traditional language. It's nothing written down, no rights for, you know, like there's no firm freedom of speech. And the royals have like these responsibilities that are ancient and weird and not cool. I mean, like it's like she should have known. If she'd known, she would you know, done the research before she got in this marriage. She would know what this family did to Harry's, you know, mother and great grandmother, or like great aunt, and like it does miserable things to people constantly, and you know. So I'm not surprised.
The monarchy, not really, you know, individual. Anyone who has like individual aspirations, they get squashed.
Yeah, like they're not collective, but they just have. They're just like this is the way it's always been, and it's just like it's gross. I can't it's one of the few monarchies like left in Europe, and it's like it's ridiculous to me that they don't have a constitution yet, like an actual written down constitution. Like they got the Magna Carta. It's the last thing that they like codified like that, and I mean, and then some EU protections for people, but which went out the window with Brexit.
Right.
So Piers Morgan is butthurt about this.
Of course, yes.
And in a very, it's insulted his royalist sensibilities. So let's see what he has to say, because he's leaving his talk show now. And we'll see why.
This is a 2-hour trash-a-thon of our royal family, of the monarchy, of everything the Queen has worked so hard for, and it's all been done as Prince Philip lies in hospital. They trash everybody. They basically make out the entire royal family a bunch of white supremacists by dropping this race bombshell without...
that phrase.
Listen, by all means, let's applaud the Queen when she does something right. But when she does something wrong, we need to call her out.
What does she do wrong? What does she do wrong?
What kind of grandmother? Let me finish. What kind of grandmother will be so close to her grandson, Harry, but then not use her power and influence as Queen to protect them from the racist media coverage?
I find what you're saying about the Queen actually disgraceful. I find what you're saying, you're entitled to your opinion, Shola.
So pause it for a second. So the thing that she's alleging, Meghan is that basically that her first child, Archie, they would take his title basically and made it clear to her that he wouldn't have a title. And I think that
they never gave a reason for that, right?
They didn't give a reason for it, but in the aftermath, it's the palace is making claims that he wouldn't be entitled to that title until a certain time or something like that it had nothing to do with his race. But then Meghan is also alleging that they took his protection away and took Harry's protection away. And during this time, Tyler Perry gave them room and board in California and actually gave them protection because they could potentially get assassinated anywhere they are. They're such huge figures. And, there's been also political assassinations of the royal family. I imagine they're less, since they've stepped away, they're less liable to get something like that happening.
Right. I mean, they're just public figures, generally speaking, and they need, without the being in the royal, camp or whatever it's called, umbrella.
And meanwhile, we have
at risk.
And then meanwhile, Oprah, the American black woman, I mean, you all know who Oprah is, but actually gave her the opportunity to say her story. And while the royals and the managers of the royals basically told her to just pipe down and it wouldn't look good. And then she's like, well, maybe I can go to, I need to go to therapy. I have suicidal thoughts. It's like, no, that wouldn't look good. And there's nothing you're not a paid employee, so we can't set it up for you. But also, we don't want you to do it yourself it is a fucked up. I mean, that tracks perfectly with what the royal family is. And then the last claim, and Pierce, I don't think rejected any of those. He just thinks that she's lying about some of them. He thinks that he's factually correct about the title, the lack of a title, but Meghan was not claiming that she understood, totally understood what they were saying about the title. She just knew that there was protection being withdrawn from her. But Pierce is saying that that she's factually wrong about the title, which she might be. But again, she's an American who did not do research before entering this, which I think is stupid, and that's on her a little bit. But the system is horrible. I'm condemning that more.
That you're wrong about that, but I think it's definitely this is just a system that is just blatant. I think they're right. They can't get away with doing things like this because who is empowered to stop them? And I think they're citing on history as their reason to do whatever they want because they've gotten away with it up to this point.
And then the other claim is that somebody in the royal family said, do you have an idea of how, dark Archie is going to be?
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe Pierce is going to comment on that in a second.
Let's see.
Respond to what you've just said.
Is rooted, listen, you might learn something. The royal family as an institution is rooted in colonialism, white supremacy, and racism. The legacy is right there.
And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle, or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her.
OK, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
So, do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, maybe, not my own.
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't
this
do
is
this.
Absolutely diabolical.
Diabolical.
It's
great.
Starts off on a regular basis, and we all have to sit there.
Get on with it then.
Yesterday was incredibly hard to watch.
So yeah, that's the base, the start and end of it basically, and now he's saying like, I don't like that I'm being silenced in cancel culture, so I'm going to walk off.
So
it's just
snowflake, if you ask me.
And the other thing he said, was that it's not unreasonable for a biracial family, a family that has a black member or whatever, to talk about what color the kid is going to be, which I agree with generally. I didn't see him talk about this here. I think that should be a fine conversation until you're also talking about how his inheritance will be in risk, his protection will be at risk.
It's pretty obvious.
And it's clear, but from what she said, like how she reacted, that this was not just a friendly she's going to be Coco or something, this shade or whatever. There's a way to do that. There's
an obvious. Let's be honest. I mean, this is not an environment where this is supposed to be just an interest in the complexion of a child. This is how non-royal is this baby going to look conversation.
Yeah, it's what it sounds like. And it's not, she wouldn't be talking almost, holding back tears or whatever, clearly recounting a time when she was crying about this, about a casual, friendly thing. She knows what vibe the person was giving off.
It's a pretty obvious attempt to show that you're not the disapproval of.
Yeah, but we don't know who it is at this
pure white.
Yeah,
Aryan or Anglo-Saxon, whatever baby would look like. And again, the thing about remember this, she's African American, but she's also of mixed race.
Right.
And her baby would be what would be the percentage? She'd be 1/4, or she'd be what?
I don't know. Do you object to the term octoroon?
I think most people
do.
I think that's a very old term, Jack. Anyway, but the point being
because she's half black.
She's half black.
Yeah, so the baby's a quarter then.
Yeah, a quarter black, and that doesn't mean anything. I have a lot of my sister is half black. She's she looks. Some people think she's Hispanic, but culturally though she's blacker probably me. But it's all about perception of looks and stuff like that, and that can mean a lot of different things. Visually, it can mean a lot of different things.
Well, and you know what? It would actually
the nervousness of the royal family for that.
It had the potential to curb a lot of the. Okay, so we know right now the people that said this. We don't know who it was, but we know they confirmed that it wasn't the Queen. They were very complimentary about the Queen through the entire thing, and that it wasn't Philip, who is sick right now and maybe going to die, but, and then...
Oh, he's 80.
Yeah, he's really old, and I mean, there's some point when that succession has to get going, too,
that's the whole point.
But that
First of all, I would say, I generally don't give a shit about the royal family.
Well, the other thing, yes, exactly. But it is interesting. I watched The Crown, so it's it's the reason I like The Crown is it's just seditious enough. It's just like, fuck these people enough.
Right.
And
that's where
and does do accurate, weird, like it's a nut system, and you can't imagine that it exists in the modern world.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and like, and she's also the head of the church, so there's a religious aspect to it. That's what caused her sister not to be able to marry a divorced man. But yeah, it was supposedly not Philip and not Queen Elizabeth, which means that it's apparently it's probably either Charles or Edward. William? Well, it's Charles or William or their wives.
Right.
So,
the basic thing I have to say is like it's a systematic thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's not individuals.
Yeah, well, they had, and this is the thing, having a black person marry into the family, they had an opportunity to milk that, to actually warm public perception from their colonized. They still have a commonwealth of countries in every continent.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them are people that are considered, themselves.
The pushback in those countries is real right now.
Yeah, it's completely real and historical.
To exacerbate that.
Yeah.
For real. Now, it would be a very cheap, honest way to do that, but you're right. It would actually bridge the gap.
Well, what is it? What is it in the royals again?
Yeah, but it's like one of those things where it's like, they would have, if they were, like, here's the thing, like, if they were less, I guess, racist, they would have been able to exploit this and seen that, like, oh, we can use this to our advantage and just let one guy, one in and then change the whole perspective and keep our system in place. Now I can't see how, like, if you're on the fence with this system and you see this, you're like,
yeah, it's brutal.
It's pretty obvious where this is. They're almost too arrogant to even hide it, I guess.
Well, yeah, and that's the concern right now. Let's move on because I don't think I have anything else to say on that. There's a sex topic essentially, but it's kind of politics as well. Milo Yiannopoulos was essentially canceled. But generally, just people didn't want to listen to him or give him money anymore, which is essentially what people mean by cancel culture anyway.
Right, and I kind of want to. I don't want to fat shame him, but I kind of do.
I mean, he's been depressed by the canceling a long time. Right. But I don't know. Maybe we should watch this and then react.
And then fat shame.
What's that? And then fat shame simultaneously. Fat shaming. Isn't that fucked up? Well, like, it looked like he actually, so the thing I didn't look up is that it looked like he actually married him. So he's got to get a divorce, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. I imagine.
That was from the New York Post.
That was from the New York Post. So yeah, he just is. I can't imagine. Well, I don't know. I feel like his housemate is in on this grift as well. Yeah. Because I think they're probably.
And this is very much a grift.
It's in every way. It's just.
It's a disgusting grift.
He hates not being in the spotlight anymore, and he thinks, and the reason he got canceled in the first place was for advocating, or basically normalizing sex between a child and priests.
Yeah.
And
he's normalizing the grooming
pederastic relationships. Yeah.
Like grooming of teen post-pubescent.
Because he said he did it with his on the Joe Rogan show.
Right.
So he thinks now if I say that I'm not gay and there was like and actually maybe like sail down the river your molester said that made him gay or whatever like and treats it as a mental disease or whatever and tries to rehabilitate conversion therapy as he's saying he thinks he's going he thinks he can open up a new.
It's a lane for him to try to
there will be some churches and some religious people that will probably give him money and let him speak places and etc. But that's disgusting.
Stranger things in this modern times has happened. That's the problem is he might. There's a grift there that he might be able to get away with.
Well, I hope he gets married to a woman, just because that would be hilarious. I mean, there's nothing so funny as seeing ex-gay people try to be, try to talk to you like it's you don't know what's going on.
So they put him in a class with a lot of just men who, I'm blanking on some of the politicians who have, passed laws that have.
Well, Lindsey Graham is gay.
Well,
Lindsey Graham is gay.
He's caught or
no, but they're male prostitutes that call him. What is it? What do they call him? Lady. Lady B, basically, because apparently this is a fucked up, like Cardi B only. Apparently he's one of them has a story where he opened up his asshole and he had little round warts or something like that around his asshole, and he's like, "You put off my ladybugs," and and you all have that mental image now, and
very graphic.
Haakim, you do too. It's the fact that he exists in this day and age is very weird.
My point being, he's not the only one.
No, definitely not.
And these people were willing. What the stories were from J. Edgar Hoover about
and actively making it horrible for minority groups and homosexuals.
And based off of his own and gay people and anyone just from everything from him to now and the idea that these people exist who hate themselves so much they're willing to do these acts against people like them and you blame it on self-hatred or just a culture of despising certain groups of people. It's hard to say, but
but this isn't even with Milo. It isn't even self-hatred or anything. He's not a self-hatred.
Yeah, those people.
He's just a liar. He's
power.
Just a grifter.
Those people are in places of power, but they're certain politicians are grifters, also like him.
Yeah,
they're just using their grift in a different way.
Yeah,
public service grifters. He's a media grifter, which is more fluent.
Yeah.
He has, the politicians have to be in a parameter. It is, unfortunately, he won't be the last.
And then I'm going to update you. Well, I'm the newest episode of Alan v. Farrow. Apparently had all the meats to it. Had all of the facts to it. And they're basically alleging that Woody Allen pulled strings in New York, and those independent investigations weren't so independent. And
is that? It's hard to say, but does that sound realistic? It sounds believable.
They're laying it out pretty good, but I like the.
I know you're just a little for it.
I still don't think he did it. And my whole thing, it's because I'm a film major, exactly.
You're a film major.
No.
They ain't so coming up.
No, but and they deal with that aspect. It's totally legitimate. But what I'm saying is, if they're not dealing with some of the allegations of, for instance, Moses Farrow, who has sided with Woody Allen, if they don't bring that up at all, they're just going to. I think that, but they are saying they are basically having experts looked at the videos where she was accused of grooming the kid and saying no, she's not grooming the kid. She's not coaching the kid, not grooming the kid. Woody Allen was grooming the kid. Allegedly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely I can see their side of it now, and I do think that it's interesting. But it's still completely one sided, and it's not.
Anything I don't like one sided.
They're all going to be though. I mean, like nobody's going to go like actually do a documentary about this without having an opinion.
Ronan Farrow is a journalist. His obligation is not to be one-sided, even though he has skin in the game, obviously.
Yeah, and
so I hold him to a higher standard than he needs.
I think to some, when it comes to this,
filmmakers, I don't
think he's an interviewee. He's not.
I think his influence.
He's a producer, probably. Yeah,
his influence is. From what I hear, I haven't seen it like you have.
Yeah,
I've just read all the everything about it.
Yeah,
and his influence is pretty heavily on this project.
Yeah,
and I have to say even his obviously it's hard to be objective when you're involved in it.
Yeah,
but he has that obligation.
But he's definitely. I'm saying right now they're definitely not showing both sides, but they don't purport to. But again, there is some very damning stuff against Mia Farrow as well, from a lot of accusations from Woody Allen and Moses Farrow, and a lot of people. So it's I'm just saying if you're not dealing with that side at all, it's we'll see.
And we've talked about moving into like this era that some parts has happened to. We were talking about certain aspects of the era that this happened in with Woody Allen, Roman Polanski.
Yeah,
talked about
Hollywood pedophiles. Yeah,
yeah, and like this other era where like I've talked to you about,
right?
Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page, and all those people like
Elvis exclusively dated 15-year-olds.
Or doing what was it? Sleepovers.
Yeah.
For the presidents of his fan club.
We also got to talk about Michael Jackson sometime.
We got to talk about Michael Jackson.
Let's put a pin in.
That's my source spot, of course.
It's too much. It's too much right now.
But as far as the era, we'll talk about that. So.
Yeah, it's a good topic. We were going to have a guest today, but he's going to be on next week. There's a lot of people doing a lot of shit these days, so we're going to try to get a guest next time, and have that be a consistent thing. But today we liked how the clip watching went last week, so we figured we'd try it again this time and try something a little bit different in terms of the inside baseball. So let us know what you think, and definitely like and subscribe us, and if you think we suck, just to text us that's awesome. But
all engagement is
it's all in the goal here is to create independent working class news networks and opinion networks, and make all of the make our media more community based, because then you can trust it more. And so we're going to keep on trying to perfect this. And if anybody wants to be a guest or wants to get at us at Detroit Spar at Detroit Spar on Twitter, send us whatever message, and we'll get back to you soon. Anything else?
No, we're gonna have some really good subjects coming out. We're brainstorming right now.
Yeah.
If you can send us any ideas you have, send it to us, and we'll try to go over topics. But other than that, see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time, guys. Thanks.